real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 120 with myself, Trevor Cowley. As always, Kel Goodman.
What's up, people?
Guys, yes, we have a treat for you today. Mm-hmm. It's a treat for us, too. We've been talking about getting this man on for, I don't know, at least 6 months. We've kind of been going back and forth. We're like, come up to Utah. We're going to come down to you. And you know, obviously, with as busy as we are, as busy as he is, it's definitely difficult to get, a few high achievers in the same room at one time. So we're honored to have you on the podcast. This individual is an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. This individual is an investor. He's a model, a fitness pro, and as of yesterday, a published author.
Yay.
Guys, welcome Burton Hughes on the podcast.
I really appreciate you guys having me here.
Yeah.
To say that to be an author is...
it's kind of weird probably to hear, huh?
Yeah, man.
Did you grow up reading books or was that not your thing and then now all of a sudden you're an author? So it's like,
man,
whoa.
Do you remember those little reading clubs you had to do when you're like a little kid?
Just to earn a pizza or something?
I did the books where there was no words and I would just look at the pictures and I was cheating the game. I was always, even when I was young, I was trying to figure out.
You were always hustling, even
always
on the
reading
thing.
Man. Always. So to say I'd be an author, it was one of those things. I think over the last few years, I felt this calling. I really did. I feel like there's certain things in life where you feel like you're kind of, it's not that you're steered, but there's something guiding you. There's no question about it.
Did you have those thoughts like over and over and it was just like, man, I got to listen to this thought and I got to freaking do something about it?
They do, because I think that's like your inner voice like trying to tell you 100%. But the thing is the imposter syndrome starts sinking in, right? You start thinking like, what does anyone want to hear?
Who's going to read my book?
Yeah, 100%. But really during COVID last year, I literally was doing cardio one morning and I call it like a laser beam or a lightning bolt literally hit me. And I felt like I had a duty because I'm at the point now where I'm getting better, but I'm also allowing myself that with the platform that I have that I can help others. Yeah. And it's not where you're at on a socioeconomic level. I work with people that, I've talked to and I just have a really cool way that I approach my day and a system that I've been following. But the thing is, I didn't know I had a system until I started, talking to other people, and they're like, "You actually there's something here." Yeah. To me, it was just how I always just ran my days. Yeah. But it ended up actually like there was in a weird way, like I had a system, didn't know.
You accidentally created it.
100%.
Structure without purposely creating structure. It was like you had so much to get done, so by default, you're like, "Oh, I'm going to do this here," that, and you're just kind of making it work.
They were my non-negotiables, right? And then I started getting around some like high achievers. I was talking to these people, and it wasn't until I had a conversation with this insurance broker, and his insurance practice is connected to his wife's medical practice, right? Okay. So like they're doing well.
Yeah.
Right. But then I just straight asked him. I said, like, when's the last time you went to your kid's soccer game? And they must have just triggered something in him because like it's weird to see like a grown man's lip quiver. Yeah. And like I saw it. I saw him break.
Well, most people, even if they can see that this guy probably is very checked out of his family, someone's not going to actually call him out on it. You call them out.
I just asked him. I just straight asked him. And the thing was it wasn't like I was trying to call him out. I legitimately.
You weren't trying to be rude about it.
It wasn't rude, but we had a relationship. I'm like, cause one thing I have a gift. I can see things in people, and I could see it. And we had a decent relationship. I said, man, when's the last time? And he's like, I haven't. My kids are 15, man. I haven't been to any of their games, any of their dance recitals. And they hit me hard because one of my non-negotiables
is your family.
Yeah,
kids.
Man, I can't. Yeah. I'm not going to miss my kids' gymnastic events or dance things. Now, there's always the one-off time like where you're scheduling conflict, but I'm not just going to go because I'm busy.
It's not 100%. It's like 90% of the time you're there, and then 100%. There's the one-off situation every 6 months where it just happens. Might not work or whatever.
But I didn't want to be like the dad that's like, you're doing really well, but
absentee dad that's just paying like, hey, here you go. Here's the lifestyle.
I didn't want that. Yeah. I never was going to be that. Yeah. And I told him, I was like, you're self-employed. Yeah. You get to choose. And you know what the funny thing is? A week later, he said, you've changed my life. And the thing is with that, I've been getting chills talking about it because
when you said that, I got you.
It changed, and that's where it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey or what you're doing or how successful you are. Like you have a platform, and the things that you say do matter. So when I told him that, he literally said, "You're right." He's like, and I was like, do you know what the nice thing is, man? I was like, you can change
it.
It's not too late to change it.
I just heard, who was it that I was listening to not too long ago, a different podcast, but I think they said, man, if you're saying I'm too busy, that's just some weak ass shit.
It is.
It's just weak, man. That's what people say. Oh, you're so busy. It's like
it's a scarcity mindset because you're not busy. You make the choices and you choose where you're gonna be.
Yeah.
And with him, he told me, he was like, I've been packing my bag. He's like, I'm going to the gym early in the morning to get right, because I was talking about, like, you know, I want to be able to walk my daughters down the aisle in 20 years.
Yeah.
So like physical, yeah, we can talk about the fitness and modeling stuff like that. That's great. That's mailbox money for me.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I want to be healthy for my kids. I want to be healthy. I want them to be.
Even the example aspect of it.
If you're going to be excellent and be excellent in all things. Now, I've also been called, like, you know, you're egotistical and you're elitist and you're all like, been called all those things.
Yeah.
But because I demand that upon myself. You know, so, but anyway, like, he was one of those guys. He dropped 20 pounds. He's feeling good. He reconnected with his wife, his family. He feels more engaged. And what happened is now, you know, we touch base all the time, but it's mostly business. But I'm like, hey man, how are things going? He's just never better.
Little check-ins.
His business is better. He's more grateful. I think a lot of times when you get kind of, it maybe take maybe a mastermind or being around someone from the outside just
giving you that little idea.
The light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're right, man. You're right.
And that just shows you the power of surrounding yourself with the right people. And we were talking about that prior to coming on air. You know, everything is relative, right? Like, you know, Burton has a beautiful watch. He's like, oh, it's not a big... I hang out with people that have watches that are $500,000, right? It's just all relative, right? And so you guys need to understand, if you're not surrounding yourself with people that are at a different level than you, that can help you think a little bit differently, what are you doing? Right. You know, we met Burton literally in Apex, in the Apex group, and that's why we love the group, is because we get to meet individuals like this that are...
You would never met.
We would have never met, and then you're impacting people in a positive way. You're challenging yourself in a positive way, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally. I mean, dude, you look like just a flat-out stud, right? You look like a guy that... I look at you, people are going to say, this guy's probably never had any issues, any problems in his life, right? He thinks that it looks like he got it all figured out. You got... beautiful house, beautiful cars, the watch. So in somebody else's eyes that don't have that, you have everything and you have no struggles.
Right.
You can't have those things unless you've had struggles.
100%.
And people need to realize that. And if you're going through struggles right now, that's just you paying your dues so that you can have those things in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. You didn't get that stuff overnight.
That's where the insecurity comes from in other people too, man. When you get people calling you egotistical and elitist, and they're just like, they're afraid to approach you because you've been putting in the work to be this person that you're designing, right?
Yeah.
And that
they might just be intimidated, right? Because of their own insecurities, and it's not even you, right? They're not doing the work. They know that you are. So if they surround themselves with you, their insecurities make them feel less than. It's not you making them feel less than. Because if they actually approached an individual like Burton, Burton would be an individual to put his hand out and try to help.
100%.
And lift
because I was pulled up. Pulled up. This is what you do.
Yeah.
I do got a question about that though, real quick, because I mean, you wrote the book on this, man.
Yeah,
I haven't read the book because it just came out. I mean, it's literally called Align Your Empire, right? And so obviously from the title, I mean, you've written the book on surrounding yourself with the right people, and but you know, there's people that are afraid to approach other people or jump into a mastermind, like is a high level one, especially.
It's intimidating.
Like, what kind of advice do you have? Because I had a guy reach out to me just the other day, and he's like, man, I want to hang out with you. I want you to be my friend because I get to see all these things you're doing. And I'm like, no offense, dude, I don't got time to be your friend.
That's kind of weird.
Right? And I'm not trying to.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be like I got a new baby, I got a wife, I got a family I'm focused on, I got business partners, businesses, dude. Like, I think they think I go out and do barbecues and play on the lake and all this shit. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
You know, like when I do, it's like
that's your time. Declare your time.
I'm not trying, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be your mentor, dude, and that's not what I'm trying to be. So I hate shutting him down. I'm not trying to shut him down. If someone calls me and they're like, hey, I need advice, like, oh yeah, cool, man, I'll give you some advice. But I don't have time to like go make new friends sometimes, right? It depends on my phase of life.
For sure.
But what kind of advice do you give to people that are like maybe a little insecure? They're like, I know I need to align my empire. I know I need to step it up, right?
So guys, that's the name of the book, Align Your Empire.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the biggest thing for me is like I had to look at my own life. You know, and can I
Yeah.
If we have a little bit of time to kind of talk. So the thing is, you were kind of talking about from the outside looking in, right? You kind of, and with that, people, I've heard white privilege, I've heard all these different things. There's all these different, we're putting labels on everybody, but let me just tell you this, and I'm not going to go into, because I've been on a lot of podcasts and I don't want to regurgitate, but just to give you an idea, I grew up in a single wide trailer outside of Columbus, Ohio. My mom's been married 11 times. I had a brother that was killed in a drug deal that went wrong. I had another brother just recently in 2012. So one of my stepbrothers committed suicide. He's got triplets. So there's been adversity.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was in 5th grade, we had a drive-by shooting at the house. My mom was laying on the couch, 6 bullets run through the front door, 1 through the couch. And this was on my mom's break. My brother's slinging 8 balls out of the house, selling cocaine out of the house. So we grew up rather poor. So when I saw my brother making the quick buck, I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, But the thing is that's the life that I knew. I knew I wanted more. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And I didn't really even know we were poor. I remember the electricity would get turned off and then we'd make a fort and make it a game. I remember going to the food pantry and getting a box of food, but my dad and my stepmom making it like a game out of it. So the thing is I had this overall very happy disposition. I knew I wanted more, but I just didn't have the resources. I just didn't know. So to say that I'd be an author now, are you kidding me? No, I have no idea. But the biggest thing I will tell you is when I was 15, my dad said, hey, there's this book by Andrew Carnegie, and it was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I talked about that yesterday.
And the name of the book sounded absolutely ridiculous to me. I was almost embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God.
I don't want anybody to see me reading this. I'm a loser and I don't know how to make friends.
I think my dad
at 15, right?
Yeah, but here's the cool thing. That's when my mind started going, this isn't the book that I have to read in school. This is the book that they should be having us read in school as far as we were reading Lord of the Flies or whatever it was in 8th grade. But when my dad handed me that, I was embarrassed, but then I was like, they had just started doing Amway stuff, so they were thinking big, and I was like, cool, let me check this out. So I started going through there, and I started seeing some of these things that I was doing because intrinsically God had given me some gifts. So when I was in kindergarten, 1st grade, I was always getting in trouble with socializing too much, defies authority. They were red. There was no black on my kids. They were red. They were red.
Sounds familiar.
Bro, and the thing is, it's everyone's sit down, be quiet. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. But what happened is after enough times people telling you to sit down and be quiet, you lay down, man.
You conform.
I did. And the thing is talking about another guy, Tim Grover, the book, he says we're born relentless and then you're taught to relent. What happens is even in life, as a kid, I laid down.
Yeah.
I just stopped asking questions because the thing is I had questions and they thought it was me being defiant towards authority.
Yeah.
I wanted to know why.
Yeah.
I'll figure out the how. Tell me why.
And you were wanting to go deeper.
I did.
Yeah.
But when you start asking questions that people don't know, it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Different makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I was sit down, be quiet.
Yeah.
He's ADD, HD, or whatever. I wasn't. He's bipolar. No, it's not those things. You're putting labels on me.
Yeah.
I just was different. I had to process information differently. And it wasn't until I got out of my own way and I was able to step back once I got into my 20s. I started getting successful, but I started thinking I was a dreamer. I was always thinking positive, always thinking big, but everyone was telling me,
be
careful, baby. I don't want to see you hurt and all this stuff. But it's just we're wired different. And when you start trying to run from that, that's when the anxiety kicks in. That's when the depression kicks in. Because if you know what you're supposed to do intrinsically, you know what you were made to do. You know your highest and best use. And everyone's telling me you're going too fast and you're pushing too hard. I laid down too. And then that's when I started really suffering with the anxiety and depression. So I feel all of the things that I wrote about in this book, I've crashed and burned in these areas. So mindset was the first one I talk about in the book. Yeah. Then I start talking about faith, family, fitness, your finances, and then overall your network. Those are the 6 things that you need to keep an eye on. And then you start talking about work-life balance. I started saying, you can't balance things if you're trying to build a business. You just have to get everything pointed in the right direction. And it was during COVID last year, and I saw a lot of people taking some L's and businesses were closing. I started thinking, well, if everyone's closing, then why don't I buy their market share? So I doubled down on my marketing, right? And then I was doing cardio one morning because they started shutting the gyms down, but I wasn't going to let my fitness fold, right? So I just started getting better. So I got back in the best shape of my life. I started doubling down on my marketing. I doubled my business. And I'm not saying this to brag, but what I'm saying is when others were laying down, I was on the gas.
You know
and if
what?
I would have been the person that they told me to sit down and be quiet and lay down, I'd be in a W-2 job, worrying about like the extra $350 a week that you're getting in front of unemployment, but I just never had that mindset. And I'm going off on a tangent, but this stuff is exactly what they don't teach you in school, and they try to tamp it out of kids because they want to put them on Ritalin and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, it was a gift.
Yeah.
But it makes your gifts will make people uncomfortable.
You know,
so
no, the theme that I see here, because you talked about last year, COVID, you know, people taking L's and you got in the best shape of your life.
Yeah.
It sounds like you perform even better in the face of adversity. When in situations where the average person would fold, that's where you rise to be your best, right? If it was all easy, sunshine and rainbows, maybe you wouldn't be your best. Wonderful thing about life, it's full of adversity.
100%.
So it's built for you, right?
I think life, like people say, life happens to you, but I feel like life happens because of you. Right. And it's how you look at it. You know, I got my butt handed to me during the real estate, thing. I was a realtor. I lost like 60 grand 1 month, and it took me a couple months to realize, hey, the market just crashed. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I learned a lesson that I wasn't going to let that happen again. Yeah. I wasn't going to let circumstances. Absolutely. Granted, I can't control that, but I can control how I, my mindset and how I approach it. And I think the biggest thing is you were kind of talking about people judging you. Let me tell you, when I was 21 years old, I weighed like 116 pounds, legit. I looked very, I always laugh and say I didn't hit puberty until I was 25, right? But I always lacked confidence, and I think a lot of that confidence was, growing up, people telling you to lay down, be quiet, and I grew up kind of impoverished, so I kind of felt less than adequate. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to be cool. I'm just going to be honest with you. I always felt inferior, where I grew up and stuff like that, and I really trying to run from it because I was embarrassed, but I started thinking like, okay, I started making a little bit of money. I was selling houses, so this would have been mid-2000s, and I was mid-20s.
Was it down here in Texas?
No, it was up in Columbus, Ohio, where I'm from the Midwest.
Gotcha.
And the thing is, I started thinking like, how can I get confidence? Because no matter how much money I was making, I still didn't have the confidence.
Yeah.
So I thought like, if I got a trainer and a dietitian, I can get in the best shape of my life, and then that'll give me the confidence, right? Because it also put me back in athlete mode to where you're training for something.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So I hired a trainer and a coach, and I just said, like, this is what I'm at. I'm all in. And with that, when the market was going crazy, life, work, variable, diet, training, working hard, all that was my control. So I leaned on my fitness, which then gave me the control, because I can control what I eat, the cardio that I was doing. So I was galvanizing my body. But I didn't realize it at the time. It was galvanizing my mind, because then I realized how much I could actually do in a day, because I was doing 2 cardios a day. I was doing 2 workouts a day. I was eating all my meals. I was still producing on the real estate side. I was getting an edge. Yeah. I was getting my time, and I started realizing like, okay, if I structure my days and I have to structure my meals, because I get 7 meals in a day, like it seems silly, it seems trivial, but there's life lessons in anything. And then that was really it. So I got the confidence, and then next thing you know, the more confident I felt, I started closing more deals because I felt good. And the cool thing is when people start seeing you get in the best shape of your life, they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's universal. Because it doesn't matter what culture, what side of people will respect someone's in shape, because they know it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
You have to have discipline.
You
Flat
do.
out. You can
and
look at
people
somebody.
Respect that.
Like physically, you can look at somebody. One, you know that they care about themselves, and secondly, they're a high achiever and highly disciplined.
And the thing is, you can't fake it.
You can't.
You have to do the work. You can fake, the watches, the car. You can fake that stuff, but you can't fake discipline.
Yep.
And the thing is with me, this is like people try to think it's vain. Like my dad said, if you look good, you feel good. My cars are clean, inside and out, work truck or not. I want to have a clean environment. Yeah. My clothes are clean. Like everything I do is very much by design, because I feel like I'm in control. I'm sure a psychologist would have a field day with that. I don't care. I don't care, right? I'm sure there was like, oh, this guy's clinic, he's classic.
OCD.
100%.
They're going to just all the alphabets.
But I want excellence in everything, brother. I don't want to be just like someone that's out here winging it. Like I'm in control. Yeah. And I'm not a control freak. Everything that I do is very intentional and deliberate.
Well, I think it's because you care enough that you want to control the environment.
You control the controllables, and what happens with that, it ends up freeing up your time, and you'll have less stress and anxiety. Because what happened for me is when I started saying, like, these are my things, this is my time, and I started making, like, in the morning, I do cardio in the mornings, and in the afternoons, for the most part, 3:30 to 4:15, I'm in an appointment with myself back in the gym. So if someone calls, can you meet me? I'm like, no, I can meet you at 2:30, or I can meet you at 4:30 because I got an appointment. They don't need to know what my appointment is. I'm just telling you, when you're in control and you're not being pulled in several different directions, there's a freeing aspect of that.
Yeah.
And then also, people are doing the 75 hard. I love that. But I've been doing literally the kind of a version of set for it's kind of crazy to say, since 2009, you know? Yeah. And the thing is I was doing it, but in a weird way, I was coming up with my system, and then over this last 10 years, that's where Align Your Empire, because I was aligning it. I was doing it. I just didn't know I had a system, and it wasn't until I got in the room, someone was like, there's something there.
Yeah.
But I would have never known because I wasn't looking at it like that. This is what I do.
Let me ask you this real quick before we move too far on, because I know I want to ask you, or Chuck wants to ask you questions, but when you talk about your family, almost, or your teachers and the school and calling you ADD, and you know, obviously now looking back, you're like, man, I'm so glad I went through that and I had to figure it out on my own.
Yes.
But my wife, she shared this article with me one day because I have my daughter, I struggle with her, right? Because she's very challenging, right? Like she's the one kid that it's like, she will challenge me. Like if she's done something wrong and I have to that's a teaching moment, she's still gonna challenge me, you know? And so we read this article when they were laying in bed, and it's like, hey, when you got these kids that are like that, don't put their light out. Right? Oh. Don't put their light out like that, because that's something that is a gift for them. That's going to they're going to be powerful people, right? And so she's just she's the most persistent person ever. I want to recruit her already to come work for us, but obviously I don't want her to do that too. So, but it was so interesting. I just kept thinking about it as you were talking. I felt compelled to share that, because a lot of people that have kids are listening right now. It's like, when you have that, and trust me, I got frustrated with it too.
Well,
I was that kid.
You're gonna. 100%.
Even though I was that kid, because I totally relate with what you're saying. I was that kid that was in trouble for socializing too much, and I was told to shut up and sit down and all that stuff too, man. But it was still hard for me as a parent to be challenged with her like that, and you know what I mean, and just have this kid that's so persistent and ADD and all these things that they label it. But it's like, man, I don't want to put her light out, but at the same time too, you went through this, you had to figure it out on your own, which made it so much more powerful for you to skyrocket to the person you are now.
The cool thing is with your daughter, I'm going to tell you this, steer it.
Yeah.
Because it's a double-edged sword. This gift is also that type of personality. We're also the most at risk for drug abuse, alcoholism, crime,
right?
All of that. Because it is the drive that makes you great is the drive that can just steer it, man. Yeah. Don't try to stamp it out. Yeah. Just try to with corrections, you know. And the thing is man, I remember when my daughter Coco was my firstborn. You take your baby home, you put it in the child seat, right? And you're driving home like,
what the hell's going on? I'm a dad.
You know what I mean?
Where's the instruction manual on this thing?
You know, I'm sitting there, but something did click in my brain, because I started declaring who I was going to be as a father, because I learned a lot of things when I was growing up, the father or the parent that I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so you can look at oh, boo-hoo, we had some tough times, but I started thinking well, this is what I'm not going to do.
Right.
Right? So that's why I work hard so my daughter can be in the private schools, because I want her to have the education that I didn't have. And again, I'm not saying that I regret any of it, because I don't. Yeah. But what I'm able to do now is steer it.
Right.
So I feel in our life, you're kind of like the pilot. You know, you're a pilot of your ship. And I'm starting to find out that, and this is a weird kind of metaphor too, but the wake is bigger than the ship. Yeah. So I feel like my daughters, if I can pour into them what I didn't know, imagine how much further they can be if they didn't lose their 20s like I did, because I was battling myself and I was battling a self-identity thing. You know, I'm better for it. But part of this book was if I can tell some people these are the things that I went through, and these are some things that I don't feel like it's anything revolutionary. I just think I packaged it in a really cool way. Yeah. If I can save some people a little bit of time and heartache, I want to do that. And that's really what this book was about. It's not about, I don't care if I make a dime. I think we have it. I mean, the amount of pre-sales we have, it's gonna do well. But it was more of a mission that I felt like a duty that I needed to speak on some things that I felt like I had a big enough platform, and I've gone through it, that me speaking on it, there was some validation there, and I felt like it was my duty to do so.
I'm so glad you shared that, man. And ever since I read that article with my wife in bed that night, it's like, oh, I see it now.
Can
I'm
I
like,
tell you?
okay.
Can I tell you
it's
another?
like you call it steering it, but I'm like, I just sometimes got to take a step back and let her be her.
You do.
And not put her light out, right?
Another book I want you to read. I read a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too.
Yeah.
I listen and read. Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters.
Okay.
There's kind of an attack on masculinity right now.
Of course.
But your daughter, the way she's going to develop, the man you are, is going to make her a better person. And it's also going to allow, I'm not trying to preach, man, like just talking to you man to man.
Yeah.
The way you are with your daughters is how they're going to feel self-esteem wise.
Yep.
A lot of those relationships that are broken down young, the girls are at risk for eating disorders, sexual abuse, physical abuse later because they feel some type of inferiority or whatever like that. So it's our duty as fathers raising these young women to be strong, right? You just make sure you're doing that. And like I said, steering it, the best thing you can do is you can't control people. You just have to, correct the behavior. But it's really it's the attitude.
Yeah.
Right? But you correct the behavior, but it's not the person. Her acting out, so she doesn't know how to explain that she's having a bad day.
Yeah.
You don't think about that. Like, you wake up, like you said, saying, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But then when our kid wakes up and they're a little bit sideways because they want to do it,
They
we
don't
yell
know how
at
to
them, we
say,
go
"I
stand in the
don't-"
corner.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you don't think about that, the kid's going to have a bad day every now and again. But we're quick to yell and get frustrated and put your seatbelt on. I don't want to put my seatbelt on. But the thing is like, kids will have bad days too.
Yeah, it's not that they don't want to put a seatbelt on. It's just there might be something
whatever
else.
It is,
They're just lashing out.
You just need
There's
to ask,
else.
man.
Yeah.
So I think that's just as parents, man. We so I'm going deep, but I just think that's one thing. But that's a really cool book. The guys that are listening right now, if you have daughters, like Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, listen to the book. But it's going to be really eye-opening.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
What I got out of that is either you're going to pretty much let the world steer them. In terms of their own self-worth and self-esteem. Or you're going to.
You just got to do your best.
That's a great point.
You got to do your best.
And if you let the world do it, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's
they're
why
in trouble.
And that's why we're the situation we're in right now. I mean, there's a lot of things going on.
Marketing is to make you feel less than, that you need this, and this to be of value.
Right.
That's what the world will do if they have no direction.
So my daughters are going to have the correct information. I'm going to teach them values. I'm going to teach them the non-negotiables and hope that they make good choices down the road. And I'll always be their dad no matter how old they are.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the best example that I can be. So they're not going to have to they're never going to question where I am. They're not going to ever question the waiver. But for me, like the way I run my business, the way I run my household, the way I do these things, like they're seeing that. They're seeing how you approach and how you talk to your mate, your wife, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just think that's one thing that you need to look at from a holistic standpoint is, you may be great in business, but how's your home life? How's your relationship with your kids? Yeah, you may be successful, you're checking all the boxes, but if you don't have a relationship
just like
with
the
your kids,
soccer situation or whatever earlier that you were talking about,
my thing
right?
is it's never too late. So all I'm saying is like, again, coming back to the family aspect, you got your family of origin, you got your family, you got your family of origin, and then obviously you have your family of choice, but then you're actually starting your own family if that's what you're going to do. Things that you don't like about your past, you can kind of correct it because you can become the person that you've always wanted because you can design it.
Yeah. I'm so glad we went there, man.
That was good. I guarantee a lot of people will get value from that. Let's switch gears real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like this. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Fuck, we've been trying to get this done
forever. I've been looking for this forever,
Yeah, I'm just glad that we're here and jamming out for sure.
There's so much to Burton too. It's like we want to switch gears and get some of that.
He's like an onion. He's got a lot of layers, So, I'm guilty of this as well. Looking at individuals with the nicer things, and you're like, oh, they probably live paycheck to paycheck. Money management type situation. And there are people that do that. There's plenty of people that do that. Right. And I'm not a big fan of right when you start touching a little coin to go just blow it and reward yourself.
Right.
There's, just as you talked about, discipline in probably all areas of your life, even the finance aspect of it, right? And it's difficult to do when you sacrifice and it's been years and you start making a little bit of money. You want to reward yourself very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And Burton's an individual that has the ability to reward himself, but also continue to invest into the future.
Yeah.
And this is the type of shit we've been talking about on this podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
If you make enough sacrifices, you can have both things. But if you make no sacrifices and you just do the lifestyle thing, you can get yourself in some trouble. And when that faucet dries up, you've got all these nice things or liabilities at that point and no assets. Correct. You've done an amazing job of kind of balancing both of those things with the Lamborghinis and the watches and the beautiful house. Yeah. And an individual might say, oh, he's probably living paycheck to paycheck. Right. And we know personally, because we've made investments with you in different ventures, right? That you do a good job on that side of things as well, right?
I love that question because I think about that a lot, and that's that whole balance thing. And I never liked the word or. Like, you either can do this or this. Yeah. My whole mind is how can I do both? Yeah. How can I do both? Yep. So quick little, just a little back in history real quick. I didn't know we were poor. I had no idea. But I knew that I wanted to make money young, so I was, any way I could do it, I was doing some type of hustle, always legally. But then I realized that in my town in Columbus, Ohio, there was this country club called Scioto Country Club. And if you've seen the movie Caddyshack, there's that Bushwood, you know what I mean? There's like Bushwood, you know. But the thing is like, if there was a country club that was modeled after like that movie or whatever, like Scioto was it. It was where guys are literally worth $100 million, and I'm caddying for these guys. So I'm in proximity to like these very like winners. Yeah. But then I had to also then kind of hide and disclose like where I'm from. So I had to learn how to like kind of schmooze and kind of talk that talk, so I became a chameleon. Yeah. But what I needed to do is look, when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, when I was in high school, in the summer, my friends would sleep in, and then screw off or whatever, and then they'd wake up at 11:30 or noon and then go to the pool all day. How I looked at it is if I'm caddying, if I got up at 5:30 or 6, I could be at the golf course by 7, pick up around by 7:30, I can make anywhere from $85 to $150, and then guess what?
You can go to the pool.
You got it right. I can have both. So when people say like or, I don't like that. I like and. So call me excessive, but I'm always working at how can I have both? But what did you say? You called it discipline. I didn't want to sleep in. I found time. I made time. It was a life hack. I approach that in all my ways of life now. So I'm looking at how can I basically not stretch myself too thin, but how can I maximize my time? So you were talking about the cars. The 1989 Lamborghini Countach that was on the wall in my bedroom when I was younger. My brother John, when he was killed in a drug deal, unfortunately. But we made a pact that day when it would have been 1989, so I was 7. We said one day we're going to have that. Yeah. I kept the promise. Some people could say, oh, you got a little dick. Now, I've been called all of it. You got a little dick, you're compensating this and that. You know what the funny thing about the Lamborghini is I've had 3 now. I have my third one now. I kept a promise to my brother because even though he's gone, I know he's looking down on me and he's like, you did it, little brother. You did it. You kept your promise. And that was what the Lamborghini thing was. So more than anything, it was more that I'm intentional. I kept my promise. So he wasn't able to see it. I know he sees it now. I know he's happy. Mm-hmm. But that's where the Lamborghini came from. So you can call that a metaphor for life, but how I looked at it is I was a dreamer. I was told those things aren't for you. Yeah. Those cars back then were $100,000. You know what Lamborghinis cost now, V12? They're pushing
500,
700 now. Damn. I just got mine in March. I paid $348 for the Lamborghini Aventador. I just got offered $440 for it. So now you want to talk about liabilities and assets? Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm up $100,000 on that car right now. Yeah. So I'm just saying, if you can find a way to do both, do that. Don't be, someone that's out here and spending all your money and all that. Like, I get that. But growing up, I was always looking at what things cost. I always liked the more expensive things. It wasn't that I was looking at the cost. Like I always did. My dad's like, drive me crazy. He's like, you always the most expensive. I was like, well, I like the most expensive things because I had an eye for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So someone like me, if I want the nice thing, I'm going to have to put the work in. Yeah. But that's where the discipline came in. So my thing is how can I do more? And that's it.
If you see quality things, you see quality people too, man. When you got the eye for quality, you know what I mean? You
100%. But the thing is I mean, even like Stuman or whatever, like they posted pictures of their cars, and then people started like, oh, that's a scarcity mindset, man. Mm-hmm. And even Grant Cardone a couple years ago, I was listening. I don't know if it was one of his books or audio books. When I'm in my truck,
I think it was on Instagram because we were talking about it prior to hopping on, and I saw the same thing.
He basically said, look, it's not that it's too expensive, guys. It's just you don't make enough money. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people I saw, man, there were some comments. I mean, he's just getting absolutely roasted. But like, think about it.
It's fact.
It's true. It's a fact. I grew up counting pennies and stuff like that. And I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted. And I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
That's why you're still investing into the future.
That's why you're doing that. But the thing is like, I feel like you can have a little bit of both. I don't know what that number is for you. I don't know. All I know is as you make more money, you will spend more. So I think there's always kind of like that, there's always that balance, right? But at the same time, you don't want to just always be thinking about tomorrow because there's never guaranteed. As long as you're not putting yourself in a bad position, look, if you want a car and stuff like that, and you can make it work and you're not stretching yourself and you're not like choosing between investing and having the car, if you're able to make it both. Yeah. So I know people love Dave Ramsey, and I think a lot of that stuff is great, but to me, putting $20 in an envelope and giving myself a $20, allowance a week is not the lifestyle that I want, because I've been there. So my thing is make more money. How can I earn more money? Yeah. How can I create more time? How can I do more? With that, our business is growing. I'm taking care of other families because now our employees have more work because I'm producing. And now if I want a car or whatever it may be, the cars is just a metaphor for whatever you may want or desire. Yeah. In the Bible, it talks about Selah a couple of times. That's your little bit of heaven on earth, right? I think you owe that to yourself. And it's not about rewards. It's just about, you got to have some fun now too. Yes. But don't take, you just,
it's don't go to one extreme or the other.
No, and it's not a balance thing. You'll know that number. Yeah. And as you make more money, you spend more. There's always that. It's going to happen. So, but now the thing is I'm investing $5,000-$6,000 a month now in masterminds,
self-improvement,
coaching. Yep. Yes, but that's more money than I was making a year, 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's all relative, but now I'm paying for proximity, so I'm joining the masterminds, but I'm coachable. My ego's not so big.
Right.
Because I want to be coached. I don't get into like these groups so I can be like, I got Lamborghini, I got this up. I want to talk to the guy like Sammy that sold his company Mossy Oak for a few years ago, that literally is the most kindest, gentlest dude, but like I'm paying for proximity. Yep. That's where I want to be. Yep. That's worth thousands of dollars for me. But if I wasn't producing, I wouldn't be able to have the expendable income to invest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And so what I like about it is that you're not fake, right?
It's not fake.
If you love Lamborghinis and that fuels you, you had that on your wall on a poster in 1989, dude, that's just shit that you're into, and then naturally what happens when you get those things is they become a tool for you too. Because now you're in Lambo Club.
Yeah, now
you're in proximity to other guys that are fanatical about that shit because you love it. And you don't give a fuck what all the people say about ego and this and that and all this blah, 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 and Dave Ramsey shit. They don't get it, man. It's like, that's something that fuels me and is now putting me in proximity of all these other people. It's not only something I love, it's a tool, and so I don't gotta be fake about it.
So that's number 6 in my book. It's called Networking with a Purpose. Network. Yes. So what am I doing? I'm knocking out my hobby, because people are like, oh, you can't have fun, all you do is work. Well, guess what? I'm working with the car.
Yeah, the hobby is now turning into a opportunity to meet individuals, and when you meet high achievers, there's more opportunities that get presented to you.
And guess what happens with that? It cuts out the noise. If you're sitting there with a $500,000 car or whatever it is, they know you're doing okay, so they're going to have the conversations with you. I hate to say it, and if that triggers you, then maybe you need to look at what you're doing in life. I'm just saying.
Flat out. I mean, we've talked about the groups that we're involved with. Yes. They're expensive.
Yes.
And that's by design.
It is, because there's an exclusivity to that. Right. But then I met a guy that, think about this. I know a guy that was on the ground floor of Google and Microsoft. And when shit goes down in the government, black Suburbans pull up to his house and they whisk him out. Those are people that I'm in Lamborghini clubs, but they don't come out and tell you hey, this is what I do. Yeah. You just find out you just sit back and observe. Yeah. Another guy has started brought the private cloud to the Middle East. Sold his company for $200 million last year. Guess what? I had no idea because I didn't care what he did. I really like your car, man. He's like, I really like you, man. Seem like you're pretty down to earth dude. We should go grab lunch. Next thing we're starting a tech company. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the thing is when you're authentic, you're not just trying to be something you're not, and you're getting these Lamborghinis just to fake an image.
It's what I always wanted.
You're attracting other people that are authentic about it.
Yeah, right? And I think there's that secret, I don't know, I never really read that book, but the laws of attraction. Yeah. So the thing is, I don't think about I'm going to be authentic, I'm going to be humble. Look, I'm just me. I'm to the point now, look, if you don't like me, I'm sorry, and if someone prejudges me, because I know I get that a lot. people are like, oh, I thought you were going to be a dick, but then like you were cool. And I'm like, well, shame on you.
Yeah.
You know, I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I think you can get a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
That's why you have a book designer and a cover designer, so it looks
Yeah,
good.
they're not all blank.
Yeah,
you know?
but the thing is that's a perfect example of if you're prejudging people or whatever, like that's more of a you problem.
Yeah.
So for
No
me,
doubt.
I found a way to leverage my hobbies and my work. So it's no longer a liability, guys. It's an asset.
Yeah.
Your assets, yes, on paper, you get your payments or you pay cash or whatever. Like, just look at that. How can you combine your hobbies with your work? And I ain't talking about just going around and chasing a white ball around with your friends playing golf. No offense, but I'm networking with people that I've never met. I'm not hanging out with the same people. I'm going on these car rallies and I'm doing both. I'm working and I got deals. I think I've done over $1 million this year in deals just with the guys from the car group. I just got 2 more referrals 2 days ago that are going to be huge deals for me just from the cars. So just find a way to do that. You know?
I'm pretty sure when you bought your last Lamborghini, you weren't thinking about like, oh, this is going to get me around all these people and this is going to impress all these people. You were probably just geeking out on the car.
100%, because I had the V10s and then, but yeah, and it's funny thing is my first one that I bought back in 08, I walked into the Lamborghini dealership and they basically thought, I felt like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Like,
you know,
what are you doing, bro?
I was like 25 or whatever. But the thing is like I told you, that was a score that I needed to settle with my brother. Yeah. And I was able to do it. And how it all worked is I talked to my insurance guy. I was like, what's the insurance? Like $82 a month. I'm like, what? I said, yeah, it's $82 a month. And then the months that you don't drive the car is like $68. And I'm like, you can justify anything, fellas.
Ain't that the truth? You know what I like a lot about Burton is one, his humility. You guys need to understand this is an individual that has had success in his life. He doesn't have to continue to seek mentorship or surround himself with other people. He's just a good, genuine dude. This individual, Pastor Keith, you have an individual that's almost coaching you in your faith.
You have spiritual advisors.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got advisors in your business. You've had advisors when it comes to your physique.
Yeah.
You know, and you're investing money wherever you want to grow.
Yeah. I'm humble enough, and you can almost humble yourself too much, and then you're like, you kind of, there's always that balance. But the biggest thing that I've been working on is balancing the spirituality, you know, and a lot of times people say if you're successful, then like you're going against God. But when you think about it in the Bible, guys, I mean, we've talked about these conversations because I always ask, but in the Bible, how many times was God making people kings? Yeah. You know, with kings, you have a duty. So how can you help others? How can you serve others? Yeah. Now, that's what the book was about. Like, how can I serve? How can I give back? So we're talking about doing a nonprofit, and I'm even mentoring, troubled youth. I was doing that in the Midwest. But I think the biggest thing is I'm clearly able to look and see where there's holes and there's gaps. As you get better, certain areas there's going to be lights that's shining on it because as you're leveling up, that you can see it. And I'm coachable. I don't hire a coach for someone to agree with me. I know there's a lot of people that do that. I want someone to literally call me on my crap. Yeah. Someone that says, look, man, like you're doing great over here, but you're losing the sight over here. And I want that, and I'm coachable. I'm not like too into myself and ego, and I don't do that. Like I have a spiritual advisor because I need to figure out how I can get better there and even become even better. Because if I'm structured with the gratitude and things like that, that's like my armor that I can put on every day. So when I'm putting out fires and I'm having a bad day, I've got the spirituality aspect that I can fall back on. That's my rock, right? And then I think it just makes you a better human. Right. And that's one thing that Keith has been able to give me is the spirituality and the abundance. And how they both can coexist, not one or the other. Yeah. Because everyone else says, to get a man, like to get a rich man into heaven is like trying to get a camel through an eye of a needle. Like, is that right? I think that's that saying.
Something like that.
It's something like that.
People perceive it.
But what I'm saying is like you have, in the Bible it talks about being a good steward of finances and all that stuff. It's all good principles. But now I've got a spiritual advisor. I got Ryan, and then you guys are advisors. I follow you guys' page because I like you guys, right? Yeah. But you're putting down solid information for people, and it's whether they are willing to accept the message and they're able to apply it, or are they going to get triggered? Because you guys are kind of risque. Someone said, that's what I love about you, man. You speak it. You call it what it is. Some people are like, I hate that guy. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I like someone that's just going to come out and speak their mind. I mean, straight up, that's what it is.
It's needed.
It is.
Yeah. And that's what's lacking.
It is. And no one wants to speak the truth because everyone doesn't want to step out. Because when you step out, they started getting arrows shot, shot at you.
It got to the point where everybody was trying to be politically correct
and what did that get us?
What did that get us?
Where are we at right now?
Here we fucking are.
We got 26 different genders. You know, I'm worried about people saying like, look, I mean, I don't care what you are, gay or straight. Like, I'm cool with that, but like, you know, I don't want my daughters in the restroom with someone that, you know,
a man.
Yeah, I mean, straight up. I mean, I just don't want to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And that's also why she's in private school, so I don't have to even worry about it.
Yeah.
I know what she's being taught.
Yeah.
So I know that kind of went a weird thing. I didn't.
It's I again. 99% of the time, I don't care what individuals choose to do with their life. They have the freedom to do whatever. But if it's starting to impact family members or daughters or whatever,
right now that's screaming the loudest.
Yeah.
And that's dictating culture right now.
Absolutely.
And I think that also comes back to being strong fathers and declaring what you're going to be and what you're not going to be. I think it's our duty to help steer that in the right direction.
And
you start,
if you want platform, you need to steer it as well. Be real.
I think everybody has a platform, whether they realize it or not.
And that's what I was talking about.
10 followers or 100 or 1,000 or whoever, you have the ability to impact one person, 2 people, 10. Everybody that's listening to this, you're listening for a reason. One, you want to improve yourself. So why don't you take the information, apply it for yourself so that you can improve, but also speak your mind, speak your truth. And guess what? You might get a little pushback, but you're going to get 90% support and 10% pushback. And most people don't understand that and realize that. Even stuff on our Instagram stories that we post, the most liked shit, the fire, the 100, the, you know, whatever, when you can do an emoji on a story, is different stuff that most people would be afraid to post. And we get maybe one, what the fuck is this, propaganda? I thought it was a business page. I said, you know, it's actually our fucking page, and we'll post whatever we want and whatever we believe in and our truth.
You chose to follow it.
Exactly.
So beat it.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me say this to some of your listeners right now. I don't care if you have 20 followers or 1 million or whatever it may be, because just because someone has a blue check doesn't mean that they're better than you. It just means that they have a little bit more exposure than you. So I want to tell you right now, if you have 150 followers, this is kind of grim, but I just want to paint a picture. If you have 150 followers, you may be like, well, I don't really have a big enough platform. Imagine if a plane crashed and there's 150 people on that plane. That's 150 people, right?
So it'd be headline news.
It would be. So my thing is, if you only have 150 followers and you make a post, like, that's 150 people that are following you for a reason. So it doesn't matter how many.
Everybody's an influencer.
Absolutely. And the thing is what you say does matter, and people do care. So just take ownership of that. And I don't want you to, I just want to kind of paint that perspective. And I hope sometimes I have like these ideas in my head and I have a hard time, you know, expressing what I'm trying to say, but in a weird way, I just want to let you know, like, you do have a duty. You are an influencer. People are watching. And it could be just some small little zinger that you say that's going to change someone's life. It could be that smile. It could be, man, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
It's little things like that.
It could be.
Yeah.
When's the last time you went to a soccer game?
Me?
No, that's what I'm saying. It
could
100%.
How you were
saying,
just like I did
it could just be that one thing, right? That one zinger that changes the direction of an individual's life.
And it does. And it's
your choice on the type of influence that you're putting out there too.
Yeah.
People got to realize that, man. And that's really what you're saying is,
and
like, you're either choosing to influence people to be victims and negative and judging and all this shit, or you're influencing people to be themselves.
And that's and I think you see the old guys in the gym, they're like 60 years old and they're standing, they're just naked, there's blowjob in their balls or whatever. I wonder what that type of freedom feels like, because I still do care a little bit. You know what I mean?
I get out of the shower, you just hurry and wrap up real quick, and they're just like,
but dude, I mean,
hanging and banging.
I think at the point you go to the doctor when they're poking and prodding, putting stuff in your penis, and then you're out. I think at this point they're like, look, this is just me. And I've been through it all. I'm not there yet. I still do care, so I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes when you get those negative comments, you know,
they hurt a little bit.
It does sometimes.
And then you've got to talk to yourself and remind yourself of, you know, who you are.
100%.
You know, all that. So again, yes, it can hurt, but it's up to you to protect your mindset.
And that's your mindset.
Right?
And that's your mindset. And that's one of the things I talk about first, really, in the book. There's no hierarchy; they all exist, but mindset's key.
Yeah.
And how you feel and how you treat others, like, that really comes down to your mindset. I really feel like we can talk about, you know, galvanizing the body and all that stuff, like, that's great, but really it all kind of starts with mindset and it feeling like you do deserve the blessings that you have.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the biggest things that I had to get out of, and really I crashed and burned in my 20s, is I had the success, but I didn't feel like I deserved it. right? And one of the things that I was like a junkyard dog mentality. My boy Tony, he's one of my business partners. He's like, you're kind of like a junkyard dog, man. He's like, you're tight. And even now, like, it's weird, he says it sometimes, but the walls that I put around my life to protect, to keep everybody here, also kept the blessings from coming too. Yeah. So as I was keeping everything out, I was keeping that, the good things coming to me as well.
Yeah, when you put up walls to keep yourself safe from the bad, you're also keeping yourself safe from the good.
Yeah,
that's it. So, but you've got to take the walls down so that you can get the good, and know that there's going to be some bad.
For sure.
And you'll evolve and you'll get better at dealing with that. And again, as he said, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
Shit stings a little bit. Yeah. But that's all it should be. It's not a fucking dagger. It's just a little stinger.
Yeah. And you just have to just roll with that. And know that. And I know that we can sit here and talk about it, and we can talk about all of the ways it's going to hurt, and just know that. So.
But what about on the flip side, though? When people say good things, right? This is where I've struggled for a long time. And
is accepting the good shit.
Is accepting the good shit.
I diminish it.
Yeah.
I like downplay
You're like,
it.
Dude, no.
Yeah. And we should own that shit. We should step into that greatness. I got up and talked at a family event one time. This dude walks up and he's like, dude, you should run for mayor or something. You're a really good speaker. And I'm like, bro, I've gotten on stages for work and I'm bombed, dude. I'm not a good speaker. I'm around Trevor all day. This motherfucker delivers a good ass message, right? You do. But then later I was just kind of like, why do I diminish myself like that, right? Like, I actually am a good speaker.
You're going to be harder on yourself than anyone else.
Every time I've spoke on stages, even though I'm my toughest critic, I get swarmed with people afterwards, and they're like, so when I started accepting, you know what, no, I can do it. Yeah. I'm pretty good at it. I got potential in it. Yeah. It's like you're stepping in your greatness a little bit too. So
your highest and best.
Well, what's weird about it is I've seen Kel talk, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
And then he gets off. He's like, dude, I should have said this.
That's an imposter syndrome, bro.
And I'm from my perspective, all was good, bro. Right. But sometimes we just over-critique ourselves. We got to give ourselves a fucking break sometimes,
That's the double-edged sword, fellas.
Literally,
that's it right
literally
there.
Within the last month, I've been starting to tell myself, I'm proud of me. Yeah. And that's literally, people need to start saying that. On the way as you're driving, I'm proud of myself. Tell yourself that and watch your fucking mind start to shift. And honestly, this pressure that's self-imposed kind of goes away when you just finally tell yourself that you're proud of you.
Man, you almost got me, man. I started getting a little watery-eyed because I was at an event about 3 months ago speaking in St. Louis, and the speaker comes up and John's like, can you look yourself in the mirror and say you're proud of yourself? Yeah. I start crying. Just keeping it real, and I start crying.
Isn't that crazy though that happened, and here we are in talking about a very similar subject? Because obviously we're supposed to talk about it. Yeah. Because people need to hear this shit. Just like maybe you needed to hear that 3 months ago or whatever it was, right?
And the thing is, I think a lot of us man, you're somebody accepting the good. I think of all the things that I think it's cool when other people are like, I mean, what you do is really cool. Because then if you don't have to speak on other people or speak on it, kind of takes it off of you. Yeah. It's kind of a cool.
Well, I honestly think when all of us came from pretty harsh backgrounds, so we've used the chip on our shoulder type thing in order to be successful.
100%.
And it's like 100%. We don't want to take that off of our shoulder and say that we're proud. We still got shit to prove.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near where I want to be.
Exactly. But I think you can do both. You can have a chip on your shoulder and also be proud of how far you've come. 100%. And literally, when I started saying that to myself, I started thinking about, where I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or when we first started becoming partners, a decade ago, and versus where we are now. And when's the last time an individual took a little bit of time to reflect on where they were 5 or 10 years ago, and again, just say that you're proud of yourself?
Let me just say this, guys. How many partnerships, be it marriages, business, all this kind of stuff, last 10 years?
Decade.
Yeah. I just think is a testament to you all. Yeah. That you guys are able to, work it out. I'm sure you guys had battles and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you guys know that you together is better.
Strength.
Is better. Because I'm sure there's. Yeah. It is. So I just think that that's a testament. I mean, I love you guys. You're my boys, but I think that right there, the fact that you've been able to keep this thing going and working at 10 and you're setting those goals and you're asking, I think that speaks a lot.
We get that question a lot. A lot of people are like, how do you make it work?
And they write books on it. The book called Rocket Fuel. Like clearly you guys had clearly defined roles. So I mean, you guys may speak on like that.
Yeah. I mean, well, just like you in your book, like I didn't know I had this system. We didn't either for a long time.
Right. Yeah. So you actually there's things y'all doing.
You're just hustling and bustling, and next thing you know, that's what made it easier.
So don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
You know. So people ask me, how do you get so much done? I'm sitting there like, well, I feel like I can do more.
Yeah.
You know. Isn't that crazy? But again, that's that mindset of it can always be more. Right. But it just has to be, where's that coming from? Is it a greed, or is it wanting things, or is it what can I do to? It's just how you channel.
Well, it gets to a point where you just want to impact other people as well.
That's kind of where I'm at now, and the transition is being like, I love seeing people win.
Yeah.
I like everyone's just like, well, Kurt, I think, someone we all know, like Kurt has a roofing company here in Dallas, and they absolutely kill it. But the thing is with Kurt, like everyone's like, well, he's like your competitor. I'm like, no. I want to see him do well. There's plenty of there's millions of homes in Dallas. So like technically on paper, yes, we're competitors, but I want to see him do well. Yeah. There's enough to go around. Before, my scarcity mindset is I want to see you fail because I want to win. It's not that I want to win. I want to see you lose.
You think they're taking something away from you. But we have a call with an Apex member that's a CPA on Tuesday? Yeah. Just to help out wherever we can help, right?
Because there's plenty to go around. 100%.
We can't do bookkeeping for 100% of businesses.
No.
So
why not help each other?
Why not help each other?
You can help the industry because if you guys help each other, you make the industry better.
There's 33 million registered businesses. We can't do the bookkeeping for 33 million businesses.
There's 2,500 roofing contractors in Dallas.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about that.
Competition's great because one, it pushes you, but also alliances are even better.
100%. Yeah. And I think he does a good company. So the thing is like if you're in that mindset, I want to tell you guys, if anyone's listening right now, and if you're a realtor, you got other people, salespeople in the office, like if you see other people winning, you can win too. Yeah. And if you look at the people that are your top, because I'm typically one of the top, if not the top, definitely top 2 or 3 producers in our company consistently month in and month out. But the thing is like the competition makes you better. Yeah. But why don't you look at those people and see what makes them great instead of, maybe taking a shot at them and being like, hey, it must be nice. Like, what are they doing consistently that you're not? Yeah. Right? Think about that. And then like in your business, if there's things you want to do, like just success leaves clues, guys. Mm-hmm. They do. So, that's a perfect example right there of that. So,
fuck, bro.
I think we're gonna group hug after this episode.
I love y'all. I'm down. I'm down. So, dude, I love this episode. Where do people connect with you, and where does somebody go buy your book?
So right now, obviously, pretty much any of the marketplaces for books. I mean, you
like Barnes and Noble type shit, Amazon,
online,
whatever,
it's everywhere.
And it's Align Your Empire. Do you have a website or anything?
We do. BurtonHughesOfficial.com.
Okay.
Again, that's BurtonHughesOfficial.com. And then on Instagram, I'm at BurtonHughesOfficial. So it's at Burton_Hughes_official. That's on there. And then also with that, we started a tech company. So we built an app around the book. So one thing that I just didn't want this book to be like a one and done type thing. Yeah. You're going to have certain times in your area that maybe you're struggling with mindset, or maybe you're struggling with like your finances or whatever. Like those are sections in the book that you're going to come back to. So with the app, it's like an additional ecosystem resource for you. Right. So if you're struggling with your meals, guess what? You can jump on there and get Icon Meals. But there's a gamified version. So if someone's struggling with their health and wellness, well, guess what? The way we have it set up right now is if you go to the gym for 30 days in a row or go to yoga for 30 days in a row, you're going to get a badge, and then you also may get a coupon for Lululemon for 20% off for the success that you've had. So we've really tried to go after. We got Pepsi on board. We got a lot of these major. It's again, always play big. I wouldn't do anything small. Yeah. So it's 100% correct. But the thing is I want to make sure, and I didn't want to just run the bases.
Well, that's the funny thing is, you can tell Burton doesn't half-ass shit. Yeah. He full-asses that shit.
I do full-ass.
Yeah, he's a full-asser.
Dude, I've been working on my book, and it's hard, dude.
It is, man.
And I'm sitting here thinking, whoa, dude, you've done all that stuff with your book. Like, you definitely go big, dude, because I'm putting as much effort as I can in my book, I thought. But then I'm like, holy shit, you built all this stuff around your book? That's incredible, dude.
We self-published it, and the next thing you know, we ended up getting a publishing deal. So it's funny how things work out. But like I said,
you got to be taking action for things to work out. Things happen when you're in motion.
And the thing is if you're curating action, action then creates more action. So remember, the wake is always bigger than a boat. Yeah. So anything that you're doing, if you're writing a book or growing your business, it does matter. And I love y'all. I hope we can come back and maybe do another one.
Hell yeah.
I'd like to do a recap of this because I will tell you, you're talking about how you're proud where you're at right now, but we're gonna be laughing about this conversation in 5 years.
Yeah, 5, 10 years.
We thought we had it figured out then, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait for those days, and I hope I'm gonna be around with you. We'll still be doing life together.
We will.
Guys, all the information Burton just shared with you will be in the show notes as well of the podcast. So if just as if you're driving or whatever, didn't have time to take a note and figure out what his website is or where to buy the book or check him out, his Instagram, all that will be in the show notes. So you can go ahead and screenshot that and do some research. He's a badass.
Super
And
for this episode.
you'd be doing yourself a favor to go check him out and purchase his book flat out. That's not me just saying that to like try to push book. Like after this episode, if you can't tell how genuine Burton is, then check your pulse. You know what I mean?
So, I appreciate that.
No, dude, it was an honor to have you. Like for real. It was
I still
amazing.
want to come out to St. George. So
Yeah.
Don't think you're off the hook on that.
Hey, we got a Dallas podcast in, and we can get a St. George podcast in.
Yeah, I want to get out there.
So we appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, bro, and being vulnerable and open with everything that's transpired in your life to get you where you're at right now. And I know for a fact it's going to impact some people that are listening right now. So we appreciate it. I know the listeners appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Guys, this was awesome.
Yeah.
This was awesome. So have a kick-ass day. Till next time, we'll see you on episode 121.